Yo, what is up, my gladiators? Sam here, and we are back once again with another story time video. Now, I haven't done a story time video in a little while, and that is because I've been working like crazy on all these insane role-playing adventures that I've planned for you guys. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully, the best things I've ever made. But today, all I have for you is a story, and it's a pretty interesting story because this experience was so scary and intense that my family had to move. We left where we lived purely because of what happened, and so it's pretty intense. It's pretty insane. And I'll start off my story by saying the first part of it is not my firsthand account. This isn't my experience, but the second part is. So when I was a kid, obviously, this is in Vegas, Las Vegas, very scary place at times. It can be a nice place, but when I lived in Vegas, we lived in this cul-de-sac in this community, and at night, apparently what had happened was a SWAT team went through our community. I guess they had helicopters and all kinds of things, and I slept through this whole thing, right? Like, I just wake up in the morning, I go downstairs, and I go to get my cereal, and I turn on the TV to watch my Dragon Ball Z and my Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that, because I was totally into those shows when I was a kid. I still am now. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z and stuff. Anyways, I go downstairs, and I turn on my cartoons, and then I look over, and my whole family, they're kind of like around the table kind of discussing what they're going to do. And I'm just like, so what's going on, guys? What are we talking about over here? And they're like, didn't you see what happened last night? I'm like, no, just sleeping. And they explained to me that a SWAT team went through our neighborhood. Helicopters went through our neighborhood. There were searchlights on our streets looking through, the between the houses and stuff like that, and apparently I had slept through the entire thing, which is pretty insane, but I guess I'm a hard sleeper. I just get knocked out. I am done until the morning, and then I'm good to go. So I had no idea about any of this, right? It was crazy hearing it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty insane. I'm going to go back to playing with my Yu-Gi-Oh cards and watching Dragon Ball Z, all right, guys? And this was, I think, during the summer, so I didn't have school. And later that day, I decided to go outside. It's really lovely day out. And I go over next door to my friend's house. And we live in a cul-de-sac where all the kids are like around my age, a little older, a little younger. But we'd always go out in the middle of the day. We'd play with our scooters, and we would go off we'd make little ramps and stuff. And we'd play kick the can. If any of you guys know what that is, we'd play tag and stuff. And so I went out just like any other regular day, and I went over to my friend's house. I'm like, yo, you wanna come out and play some scooters and stuff? And my friend's like, no, I'm playing video games. And I'm like, well, come on, dude, I got my new scooter. It's a Razor scooter. It's a pretty big deal. He's like, oh, okay, I'll come out and we'll play with your Razor scooter. I'm like, awesome. And then so all the kids of the neighborhood come out, and we're all playing with our scooters and our bikes and stuff. Then what happens is I hear this really loud music, right? And this lowrider vehicle, it's kind of like a light brownish, kind of pale color, comes out and actually drives into our cul-de-sac. And it's a lowrider, and they're blasting music, and they have their windows down. And I'm like, what is going on here? And everyone else is like a little like weirded out, and they're like, oh, what is this? And I just decide to go investigate, Sam the investigator. So I take my little scooter, and I'm kind of at the end of the cul-de-sac, and they're on the complete opposite end, right? And because it's on a slight hill, I'm able to just kind of coast down. And because I was so small, I would sit in my scooter, and I would just kind of like coast on over there. So I'm just like kind of coasting down, just checking things out. What's going on over here? Who are these people? What are they doing in my neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? So I get closer, and I realize there's a bunch of people in the car, and one of them gets out, and he is like straight up the most gangster looking person I've ever seen. Just like a cholo looking dude. He had the tank top, but over the tank top was a button-up shirt, and he only buttoned one of the buttons at the very top of the shirt, and then so everything else kind of like flows. And then he had like a headband thing going on. He had those really long socks, but then he was like bagging sagging his shorts. So very, very gangster looking. And they were in a lowrider with loud music, and I just kind of roll up and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? I don't really say anything. I just kind of like, oh, okay. And then he kind of looks at me and he like nods his head. He's like, sup, puta? I'm like, okay. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. That's like a Spanish word. And he turns to the left a little bit when he comes out of the car at this point. There's a bunch of other people in the car. He's the only one who steps out. And he looks at me, and then he turns to the left. And in Vegas, we have these giant, what were they called? Like energy boxes, just think like these big metal boxes. I wasn't like 100% sure what they did. They're like energy or something, and they're in between the houses. So he goes over to this big metal box and reaches behind it, and I can see that he has a handgun. He's got like this, it's a handgun, right? And I see him pull it out from behind this metal box, and he puts it in his pants. And I'm just sitting there, and because of my angle, because of my view, I was the only one who saw this, right? He straight up pulls out a gun and puts in his pants, his front pant thing. And then he gets into the car, and I look in the car, and I can see like this older woman is driving it. I'm kind of like assuming maybe it's like his mother or his grandma or something. I don't know, but his mom, I guess, was driving the car, just this older lady. And then they loop around in the cul-de-sac, and then they start driving out. And because like I watch detective movies or whatever, I see the license plate, right? And I try to read off the numbers and remember it, because that was very suspicious. That guy had a gun. I'm going to make sure I remember this, right? Because that's kind of crazy. And then so I tried to memorize the number as they're driving away. And then my friends are like, okay, that was weird. Let's go play scooters again. I'm like, okay, scooters, and then so we continue just screwing around and playing. And then my mom comes out. This is hours later. My mom comes out and she's like, oh, I got lemonade for everyone. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks, Mom. By the way, I saw a guy with a gun earlier. And she's just like, what? I'm like, yeah, but don't worry, I got the license plate. It's 1 2 ah. And I'm like, I forgot it. Sorry, Mom. Because I was just too busy playing with my scooters, So I just completely forgot the number. And at that point, my mom was like, yep, we're moving. And within like a month, I think, we were completely gone from that neighborhood. We had moved like complete opposite side of Vegas. And yeah, I don't know necessarily what happened, but I guess during the night, when they were with the SWAT teams and the searchlights and the helicopters, they were looking for these people. And I guess they had stashed weapons as they were running, right? So they were running through these neighborhoods and throwing weapons into bushes and stuff like that, so that if they ever did get caught by the police who were searching them the night before, they wouldn't have weapons on them. So that's why the next day, the morning, they came back and they picked up all the stuff that they had stashed. That's what I'm, piecing together. And it seems like the obvious, logical explanation for that. So yeah, it was a pretty scary experience. I met a guy, he pulled out a gun. Obviously, he didn't point it at me or anything, but he definitely had a gun, and that was a little scary. I was a kid at the time, so I didn't really understand the magnitude of the situation, or else, I probably would have told my parents sooner instead of went to go play scooters. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a pretty insane experience. Hope you guys enjoy these story times. I have a few more that are pretty crazy, but these are very rare experiences in my life, and obviously my entire life isn't this crazy. You know what I'm saying? Usually I just sit here and I play video games, but I've had a few interesting encounters. All right, so I'll see you guys later. Hit the video up with a like if you enjoyed. And yeah, toodaloo.